welcome back to more Let's Play Dragon Warrior Monsters. Last time, we took on the next two gates of the post-game, facing off against the major bosses of Dragon Quest III, Baramos and Zoma. Afterwards, we said goodbye to Rose, who became Sido, who then became Zoma. Now I've done a notable amount of farming. Specifically, Soul has maxed out on level with a frankly scary amount of EXP. Otherwise, Zoma here has pretty good stats, again, comparable to Mudo. Pretty decent EXP, hot-blooded. Now, I did end up changing a couple of the moves that they ended up learning, just because I forgot they learned some of them, and they managed to learn some things I didn't predict. So, that's what we'll be going with for the future. Otherwise, I mean, Mudo, pretty much the same, though he does have, or she, does have 999 attack. The most we've seen and will see. She hits like a truck. Now, in my journeys of doing all the training and farming and all that, I found 2 tiny medals. So, let's get a reward. We will give him the tiny medals, reaching a total of 19. We will get a reward, because it's exceeded 18, the Egg of a Trumpeter. I'm collecting medals that are scattered all over the world. Terry, you brought a total of 19 medals. I'll give you 1 Spikerous egg when the medals exceed 25. So, yeah. We've done the entire game and got a total of 19. We're marching to the 5th and 6th dungeons of the post-game, a total of there being 9, and we have 19 tiny medals. Getting a Spikerous is much quicker just going through the Dragon Gate and calling it good. So, although you can get one that way, I by no means would recommend it. Now, if you've been lucky enough and managed to get it naturally, by all means, use it. Otherwise, here are our next 2 gates. How are you? Go right to the Gate of Sleep, left to the Gate of Extinction. So let's see, first we want to go to Extinction, which I keep doing this to the left. This gate will feature all of the Devil monsters. And it'll feature the first major boss of Dragon Quest IV. Now, otherwise, I probably am going to speed all this up again. I've honestly been really liking how that's been going, just because it helps, well, A, not waste your time, and B, it helps me not waste my time in editing, so it's a bit of a win-win. Now, otherwise, in terms of the things you will encounter here, obviously, you're gonna find all the different devils. One-Eye Clowns, Demon Knights, Gremlins, Soul Riders, Dark Eyes, Eyeballs, you name it, you've seen them before. The only interesting things are later, where you can find things like Lionex, Ogre, Grendels, Goat Horns, a lot of the cooler devils that usually are a pain to breed. So, like pretty much every other gate, all the early fights don't really matter, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Map Magic and Stepguard will be your friends, as they always have been. And luckily, we're actually getting quite quick floors here, which is very nice. Now, there is a chance the wizard will spawn there, but frankly, I'm just gonna keep things rolling. Now, otherwise, once we are done with today, you probably guessed it, I'll be saying goodbye to Soul, and I'll be doing pretty much the final farming session that matters statistically for the end of the game. After that, and well, after today, we'll only have 3 more gates, the final challenge, then breeding the ultimate monster. We've come such a staggering way, and honestly, I really wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do all this, at least not breeding the ultimate monster. That's the big one. Fighting the final challenge is very doable. Doing all the gates, of course, and recruiting Waterbow, not bad. But breeding the ultimate monster just takes such a massive time investment that I really wasn't sure it was going to be super worth it. But frankly, I viewed it as a really nice challenge for myself, and something that I otherwise maybe wouldn't have ever done. Now, for a game I've loved for so long, it just felt wrong not to. Also, here's an unlucky occurrence. Coliseums. I honestly hate finding these or going through these dungeons because they slow things down an incredible amount. You get some decent EXP, you can earn some items if you really want, but frankly, we're trying to get through this as quick as possible. These just slow you down so much. So I always hate finding Coliseums this late in the game. They're kind of neat early on, just because it's something different, but right now, ugh, not my favorite thing. Now, otherwise, I guess going down the list of devils, continuing on, we can find Medusa Eyes, Pixies, Ag Devils, Archdemons, Evil Beasts, Orcs, Goat Horns, and then Grendels, Lionex, and Ogres. So I mean, admittedly, a lot of the cooler devils really don't do too much. Like sure, Grendel and Grendel make something nice, Lionex is great for its skills, Ogre can breed you a whole bunch of different random things. But overall, ironically, I think the best devil here is Medusa Eye, and you already could have had access to that for such a long time. So, it's kind of just a smack in the face that the Devil Gate really doesn't have much to offer. So sure, we'll, do it like the other gates just because we kind of have to. But this is a game I really don't have much to say, other than it's kind of disappointing. It's fairly easy. None of the monsters are all that dangerous, I mean, especially at this point in the game. There's really nothing here I would recommend going out of your way to recruit unless you specifically need devils, which, sure, you need some of them throughout the game, but not a ton. So, there's really not much. It's kind of just make your jaunt through and be done as quick as you can. Now, one thing I can talk about, though, and I kind of figured I'd get a little walled by these gates because there's just not much going on, is the games that they have bosses from, Dragon Quest IV. It was one of the first Dragon Quests that I actually properly went through and played. I think my first one being Dragon Quest VIII on PS2. I played Dragon Quest IV Remake on the DS, and I loved it. Like, I always knew I would like Dragon Quest. I think I played the original a couple times when I was younger. Maybe. It's really hard to remember. I don't think I did. But I know I had a Nintendo Power, like one of the original ones, that had a full guide and walkthrough printed inside of it in that Nintendo Power. I do still have the guide, so I know all about Dragon Quest 1. But it wasn't until I was a bit older that I actually got my hands on, I believe, the Game Boy Color Dragon Quest 1-2 cartridge. And to be honest, I still haven't played it, but I've seen all Dragon Quest 1. But anyways, back to Dragon Quest 4. I love Dragon Quest 4. Its whole idea of separating the game into chapters following different characters that all come together at the end to form one big party and take on the big bad is such a cool idea. It offers such an interesting variety in gameplay because you won't always have the same party members, while being able to show you a whole bunch of different mechanics, the world, different monsters. It's great. It's such a fun game. Like, I like Dragon Quest 1 for being as simple as it is and as straightforward, right? You're one guy going on a quest to save the world. Very cut and dry. You know what you're in for. It's a fun time. Super great. Dragon Quest 2, you're a group of, I believe, royalty going across the world to save it. A similar idea, but this time you have a party. And then Dragon Quest 3 gave you the whole extra story motivation of you're this child of prophecy, your dad went out on a journey, he's this grand hero, you're following his footsteps the whole journey, trying to find him, and all the while doing all these different deeds across the world, which resembles the real world, which is a really cool parallel. And the neat thing about Dragon Quest 3 is that the only party member who you guaranteed have is your character, who, interestingly, is the ancestor in Dragon Quest 1. It is directly links into that. It's actually a prequel, which is really cool. But anyways, the neat thing about Dragon Quest 3 was that you build your party from scratch. You recruit different characters as you need them, when you need them, and level them however you want, name them whatever you want, have them be whatever class you want. It's awesome. It has so much customizability for a game of that era. Big asterisk there for a game of that era. That it really stood out, and I think helped solidify Dragon Quest as just an awesome series, which is one of the reasons I think Dragon Quest 3 is so revered. And then Dragon Quest 4 took that idea and put more of a story emphasis on it, with assigning each character a different class and giving them their own unique story and reason for being a part of this hero's journey. It's such a cool idea, and having played it on the DS, I had a lot of the nice new modern bells and whistles, and it's just a phenomenal time. I love all the different characters in it. Ragnar McRyan, the first character you play as, being just this beat-em-up kind of guy, who's this, like, noble knight that wants to do whatever he can, all with, I think it's an Irish accent, or something like that. I forget his exact one, it might be Scottish. But you get the idea, they all have different little accents, they all do wildly different things. Like, ugh, it's just so fun. I love Dragon Quest 4. Now, I've not played Dragon Quest 5, but I've heard it is probably the next biggest one, I think in Japan at least, whereas in America, our big Dragon Quest is Dragon Quest 8. Because obviously, it came out on PlayStation, and PlayStation was a big, big deal. PlayStation 2. And it was also, I think Dragon Quest 8 was the first one to officially be called Dragon Quest 8 here in the West. It was either 7 or 8, because there's the whole big thing with the copyright of the board game Dragon Quest here in the West. And so, we went from it being called Dragon Warrior, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we didn't get, 5, and then I don't believe we got 6, and then I think we got 7, but I don't think a lot of people cared. That's where my info gets muddled, but I know that when 8 came out, that was a big deal to a lot of people, and a lot of people fell in love with the cast of Dragon Quest 8. And to be honest, I see why. Genghis is a super fun character, Jessica's really funny and interesting, Angelo's all slick and suave, and the main character, I mean, he looks like he's straight out of Dragon Ball, which I think really helps, because he reminds a lot of people of Trunks with his sword, and to be fair, from Dragon Quest 6, Terry also does. It's very clear here, Toriyama really liked that design, and to be honest, I really like that design too. It's freaking sweet. So I can't say I exactly blame him for using assets of it, but Dragon Quest 8 is just awesome. I've never seen or played anything with Dragon Quest 6, which I do want to change, but I want to try to do so without using something like an emulator, if I can help it. But I think the only way to play it in the West is through the DS remake. So I'll have to hunt down a copy of that and 5 at some point, which I know they're pricey, but I'll get there one day. Otherwise, I'm trying to think. Dragon Quest 9, I don't know much about. Same with, honestly, all the ones after that. I really don't know much about them. I think the most I know about any game after 8 is the fact that the hero from, I think it's 11, is the DLC character they put in Smash Brothers. So, that's cool. Granted, I use the Dragon Quest 4 hero solo for my skin when I play them in Smash Brothers. But yeah, Dragon Quest, awesome series, a ton of sweet history, some legendary art from Akira Toriyama, and just overall, really fun games. There's a little bit of something for everyone. Yes, they are all, oopsies, do not need to do that. They are all RPGs, at least to most of the extent. I think there is a dungeon crawler that's a mystery dungeon game, which stars Torneko from Dragon Quest 4, interestingly. And I think it's also partially a shop simulator, something like that. I haven't looked into it too much, but I know it exists. And then I know there are spin-off games like Rocket Slime, also on DS, which I know one of my friends had growing up, and I know he really liked it. I never had it, but I had heard of it and I'd seen it. Obviously, there's the Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior Monsters series, which evidently I quite love, though to be fair, the later entries, Dragon Quest Jokers, I'm not as into, because they make a lot of weird restrictions with your team building, and like, ooh, hey, Zoma hits level 42, she gains 10 HP, 20 MP, 15 attack, 8 defense, 8 agility, very nice. Also, I think it's a sheep, I forget. Yes, it is, very good. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, the later games in the series, Dragon Quest Jokers, they do a lot of weird team building restrictions, where monsters have, like, size categories, and because of that, one of the best examples is I think Soul would be considered a size 2 or 3 monster, which means he would take up 2 slots or all 3 slots of the entire party, and you could only have that one monster. I know other boss monsters like Zoma and Mudo would absolutely take up the entire party, and so I found it hard to play those games expecting more of this, and they are very similar, but there's much more of the, I guess, traditional Dragon Quest style of, like, RPG baked into it, which might be a plus for some, but parts of it, I couldn't get as into it as this game. And I think that's a shame, because I want to like them. And now, to be fair, I played these games when I was much younger, and so, going back, I might actually really like them now, if I gave them another fair shot. I just may not have been in quite the right mindset. Also, hello, wizard, you will save me for a little time, I appreciate it. But yeah, just, some of the weird decisions really soured it for me. But at some point, I want to see if I can find those games again, and go through them and see if my opinion's changed, or if I'm still just not a huge fan of it. Because I'll tell you that, it would make making the ultimate monster, because they have an ultimate monster in each of those games too, even more of a pain than it already is, because you couldn't do the farming that, like, I've done here. Otherwise, Mudo hits level 74, she gains 6 HP, 8 defense, and nothing else. I mean, that's what maxed out stats look like. Otherwise, here we are, already at the final floor, thank goodness. Luckily, each of these gates, again, not terribly long. They're usually, I would say the gates usually average around about 15 to 20 minutes, give or take. They might end up a little closer to 25-30, depending on how many fights you get. But, yeah, here we are. You should know who that is, because we bred them forever ago. That's Pizarro. So, hey there, friend.
Who are you? I am Pizarro. I am just woken as the king of the evil lords. Arr! I cannot remember anything, but I know what to do. Do you understand?
Yes, I do understand.
Regret showing yourself before me.
Well, Pizarro, you're not that scary. Okay, to be fair, you are a little scary, because, let's see, get everyone set up. Pizarro has 6,000 HP, 600 MP, knows Hell Blast, White Fire, and the actual scary thing, quad hits. This means Pizarro can do some big damage. This is one of the few fights that you might actually have to genuinely be very careful on. So because of that, I'm actually probably going to have Mudo focus on healing, while Soul and ideally Zoma start laying out the hurt. Now a Magic Wall should help reduce some of that damage just a bit. Certainly did, so that's good. But we'll see what happens. A good 790 from Mudo, which is awesome. Big Bang doing some decent damage. Zoma giving Soul some more attack power, which is excellent. Now, I'm hoping that Mudo will throw out a heal us all, but we will see. No, Mudo swings for 1,194 damage. Holy moly. Now that's some damage. Otherwise, we'll just keep on swinging. I'm real curious what the team's gonna do here. I noticed that even though Zoma's really low, Mudo just does not seem to care about healing. So honestly, keep it up. If they're confident they can take them, I'm more than willing to let them. The damage is going pretty well. Admittedly, a lot of these later fights do just become an ultimate slugfest, and it's kind of entertaining. But hey, 13,000 EXP. Pretty good.
My body is burning. Was I defeated? Rosalie,
Rosalie was Pizarro's lover. But poor Rosalie was tormented by humans then. Pizarro should be pitied. Let's go back.
In fact, I want to expand on that. The whole thing with Pizarro is that he was an elf who was taken in by monsters, the same as, Rosalie was also an elf. They ended up becoming lovers, and then because Rosalie was one of the last elves along with Pizarro, she was tortured because they knew about where she was. And so eventually Pizarro became Pizarro the Manslayer, who hunted down people with monsters before turning into that creature through forced evolution. It's an awesome story, and one of the reasons I really love Dragon Quest IV. A cool thing is that if you play the DS version, you actually get to recruit Pizarro and do an extra secret ending after the game. It's really cool. Now, without further ado, let's hop right on in to the Gate of Sleep, where all the zombies reside. Now, as you may have guessed, the Gate of Sleep, of course, has every basic zombie we've ever seen. Bone slaves, orcs, putrebots, spookies, dead knights, let's see here, mudrins, mummies, night wisps, mad spirits, reapers, shadows, wind merges, dark crabs, notably, dead nobles, and then for some reason, rot ravens, skull-dons, which are pretty good, and skeletors. So if you want to save some time doing some breeding, you could come all the way in here to get a dead noble, and some skeletors or skull-dons to make something like the White King or servants a lot easier. So this gate actually has more for me to say about it than the previous. So hey, not every gate could be a winner, unfortunately. Otherwise, though, nothing too bad. Again, it's kind of just more of the same. But I will say, I do love any chance I get to talk about Dragon Quest IV, because I love it. It's got some of my favorite characters in the series. Kind of interesting how my favorite Dragon Quests are multiples of 4, with 4 and 8. Otherwise, keep on going. Interesting layout. Which I would love if I could find another wizard and speed things up, but I don't think I'll be quite as fortuitous as I was before, but hey, you can hope. Let's take a look here. I will say, too, we didn't get to see it, but if I had Mudo set to attack, then she would have started throwing out quad hits with the twin hits damage boost, and she probably could have been doing upwards of about 2,000 damage a swing, or well, a use, not a swing, a use, which is just some insane damage output. It's one of the reasons I'm super happy to have Mudo, because I knew she was going to hurt. Same with Zoma, to be fair. And once we breed Soul into Mirrodros 2, he's also going to be putting in some extreme work. Which, interestingly, that's going to be our final team for taking on the massive final fight, the Secret Challenger, is it's going to be Mirrodros 2, Zoma, and Mudo. So, we've got 2 of the 3. And after today, we'll say goodbye to Soul and start working on that final team member, at least for the ones that will be seeing active combat. Once we've recruited Waterbow and have every gate cleared and the final challenger done, it's basically going to just be me taking on all the farming by myself, getting them as leveled as I care to, probably just level 10 to be short and simple with it, and then breeding Dark Dream. Now, if I wanted, and this is something I considered, is this game does have a direct sequel on Game Boy Color as well, that follows 2 different characters and has 2 different versions. I don't know too much about them, but I do own one of the versions. I do know that you can trade between these versions and the original game like you could Pokemon, and if I really wanted, I think I could technically bring Dark Dream over to that file, if I were to play it again and maybe say do an LP. Now, I don't have plans for this currently, especially because I don't know that game at all. I've not played it very much, surprisingly. I just knew it was even bigger than this game, and takes a little longer, so I've been a little, let's say, wary to dive into it. But maybe for a blind playthrough, we could do a Let's Play of that in the future or something. It'd be fun. Ooh, another tiny mill. Ooh. But that's also an interesting topic, too, is trying to figure out the next games to Let's Play, because I'll be honest, with me starting my Let's Plays and doing all this stuff, I've been having to learn everything from scratch. And so figuring out what games I want to go through is tough. Because on the one hand, I want to make sure they're games that I know, so that way there's not a lot of error or needing for me to, mess around, waste time, or do anything that's, I guess, offensive, maybe? Might not be the right word or the way I'm trying to put this, but I want it to be things I'm familiar with, so that way I'm able to show off the game to the best of my ability, and not have issues with that, because I know I'm going to have technical issues, and I have, since I've started. Learning how to properly set up like an equalizer for my voice, how to properly gate things, how to do all sorts of stuff, editing, different tricks here and there, everything. It has been an extremely wild journey, learning all of this from the ground up, with no help other than pretty much Google searches. It's been difficult. It's been a lot of work. And I'm finally getting to the point where I'm happy with how I sound. One of the reasons this series took as long as it did is because I had to do extensive, and I mean extensive editing, on just about every single episode up until the post-game, because I had recorded it all in advance, with a bunch of settings that just really didn't work or play nice, and it sounded terrible. There was a lot of artifacts, a lot of issues, things that I'm sure you could easily hear in the my old videos that honestly really pained me, to the point that I, honest to God, cannot stand watching my own stuff or listening to it at all. For a very long time, when I started doing this, I believed I hated how I sounded. And really, I'm not a big fan of my voice at all, but with having set things up how I have now, it is much, much more tolerable than it ever was before. So, it's been definitely a big struggle to learn all this and to do videos, I'm going to say semi-professionally, to the point where they're at least presentable with somewhat confidence. Because there's always this talk of, like, say, imposter syndrome in comparison, right? Where people will view things, have a baseline of, oh, this is how I should look and sound and do things, and depending on what you've seen or done, this can vary wildly. You might have very high standards, very low standards, it might just depend on what you've seen and experienced. And so, I've been around YouTube pretty much since it was a thing, including many other websites that have also hosted video game things and shows and whatever. And so, coming from a perspective of this being something I want to do, slowly gathering all the equipment I needed, getting all the know-how of just how to even start this, let alone recording it, refining it, and being good at it, it's been a lot. Like, a ton. But I'm also really happy that I've started doing it, and I've been challenging myself to do this. Because it's a lot of, well, I guess ground-up learning. It's stuff that you never would have thought about or even considered if you had just been someone who only watches things. And it's honestly given me a huge, and I mean a huge appreciation for people whose videos I watch and listen to still today. It makes a big difference when you have something that sounds good, looks good, or at least, works, given the context of what it is. I can't tell you how many times I've had my own videos where I listen to it and it's just, I mean, it may as well be nails on chalkboard. It sounds terrible because there's so many little issues and clicks and pops and just nasty little things that don't sound good, which to the untrained ear, you may or may not notice. But for someone who works with audio now, it's one of those things that once you start hearing it, once you start noticing those things, you can never unnotice them, and your ear picks it up from like a mile away, and it just, it ruins so many things. Now this is where I do kind of cheat in some regard, in that when I watch things from other people, I actually use a monitor with a speaker built into it, as opposed to my headphones, just because I want to relax, I don't want to use, or be like full work mode while listening to something, and I don't need, fancy headphones or anything like that to listen to stuff. And so, usually any little noises like that just totally don't come through on like a speaker system of any kind, but when it's in headphones, oh man, can you hear every detail. It is, it's rough. It's one of those things too where like, unless you very, very, very carefully go through everything you record, look through every single thing, scrub every single line multiple times, you just might not notice it. Because sometimes it's hard to tell if it's like an editing software issue, where it just can't keep up with a certain sound or whatever, or if it's actually like a hard-baked noise that got picked up and just sounds terrible. Like, saliva popping in your mouth and sounding, like a huge big click or something, or if it's a noise gate you set that's way too aggressive and cuts off a sound, or something like that. There's so many different tricks and things and possibilities and outcomes of recording that it's kind of amazing that people have it down to as much of a science as they do. It honestly garners some serious respect. And if you've never looked into the process of like recording something, setting up like an actual microphone while doing recordings, saving all this stuff, working on it, it's a fascinating process. And there's a lot more that goes into it if you're trying to be, say, professional, as opposed to just, point a camera at a screen, talk while it's recording, getting the sound from the screen, and then just posting that. Which, to be fair, that's a fair way to start things like this and get into it. Like, you gotta work with the tools you have, and sometimes you might get a little bit of FOMO. And that can be dangerous. I know for a good minute I definitely had that. There was, at one point, I had a standing arm mic that I used for a lot of my earlier stuff. To be fair, it was a very nice microphone, a Shure brand microphone, that I got from my boss, actually, at the time. And basically, it was this whole situation where someone she knew passed away, had all this equipment, was interested in seeing if I wanted any of it, etc. I said yes, and that helped really propel me forward because I had a nicer sounding microphone, and I've also been looking into, at the same time, being able to put things like the games I was playing onto a screen, so I could stream them and share them with friends, like, do playthroughs and stuff together. And so, it all kind of came together, culminated in this, I guess you would say, lifelong dream realization, right? Because like when I was younger, and I saw people, doing Let's Plays, sharing their gameplay, and talking about games and whatever, I was like, I want to do that too, right? I want to be able to play my games and share my love for them and do whatever, and, get involved with stuff like that. I thought it was awesome. And it took years and years and years to even build, like, a computer to be able to do whatever, let alone getting the necessary cables, consoles, upscalers, the recording equipment, the microphone, the monitors, the space to do this properly. Like, it's such a massive thing to be able to do something like this, and it just takes so much more than you would ever imagine. But at the same time, too, it's also so much more accessible, which is really nice. There are people online who can tell you and help you how to do things. There are a lot of really great resources out there to help you figure out, what'll work for you, what'll work for this situation, what'll help you in this scenario. Oh, I have this problem, what should I do? Like, there's just so much that it really genuinely helped me figure all this stuff out. And so I'm super happy to be able to start doing this stuff, or to have been able to start doing this stuff, and continue it, and work on it, and refine it, and hopefully, one day, become someone that people can look at fondly and say, hey, I remember, when this guy started out, and I love watching his stuff nowadays, because, he kept at it, and he makes something genuinely worth watching. And like, for me, I do want that, but I also do this just for the love of sharing the game, showing it off, and just having an excuse to replay a game and have fun with it. It's one of the things that I don't hope I ever will grow out of, Because there's so much behind video games, and just their creation, what's in them, just so much. People can have such incredible stories behind even reading something, the same way a book or a movie or any other piece of art can stick with them. And so, I always love the interactivity of video games, and I think that's why I've stuck with them for so long, is that they're universal. Even if you're, some big, like, sports fan or whatever, there's games for you too. You can play your football, you can play your golf, you can play your, baseball, whatever. If you're, say, an artist, there are games for you too. Things like, say, Okami, for instance, or even just straight up art tutorial games like Art Academy on the DS and things like that. There's detective games, visual novels, I mean, you name it. There's something here for everyone. And it's one of the reasons that I'm happy I can start doing this stuff, and ideally, continuing to find new and interesting games to be able to share my love with. It's just one of the things that I love about this. Man, heck of a tangent, well, just going through Dungeon, huh? To be fair, there's really not much else interesting here for me to talk about, so I figured may as well open up and just share some of what I've gone through to get here. I figured some of you would find it interesting, and if not, well, skip buttons right there. You can fast forward, do whatever you want. But hey, we've been making pretty darn good time through the dungeon. We are almost at the end of it. And then we will fight our beloved boss, Esther. And then, ironically, we'll be breeding Soul with Esther. Hey, Zoma hits level 43. She gains 11 HP, 13 MP, 15 attack, 8 defense, and 8 agility. Very, very nice. And why did I use Map Magic? I did not. Perfect. I'm not going to change the plan. I guess to do one final bit, I'll say, just to close out the whole conversation of how amazing and easy it is to get into doing Let's Plays and being online and sharing things with people, is that for a very long time, I grew up in an era where it was very much so like, hey, don't ever talk about yourself, don't ever share anything about you, don't do anything with anyone no matter what, right? The very big, like, online social stigma, because it was a very dangerous, place, and it still is, legitimately. But I grew up with such a weird social stigma that it was very hard for me to interact with anything online. Like, for, I think, almost the entirety of YouTube being a website, I don't think it was until, like, 2017, 2018, when I was in my final years of high school, that I actually made an account and liked a video or commented on something. Like, I would go on so many different websites, like, say, I guess some examples, but not naming, I guess you would say things like, Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, Instagram, etc. Things like that. I just would not interact. Wouldn't make accounts, wouldn't comment things, wouldn't talk to people, nothing. You name it, I was not a part of it. It was just a weird social stigma I had. And so being able to break that and actually start making videos was tough. Putting yourself out there is hard. But I think it's paid off in a big way. I've learned a lot of skills, I've had a lot of fun, and I'm going to continue doing so, even if it's just for me. And I think that's the beauty of it. Now, speaking of beauty, Esther, pal, well, you're at least looking strong.
Who is disturbing my rest? I am Esther. Right now, that's all I remember. I don't even know if I am good or evil now. What do you want from me? Did you come to destroy me?
Ultimately, yes.
There is no choice. I cannot be destroyed. Come on!
Yeah, another tragic part of the tale of Pizarro, pretty much. Otherwise, charge, mixed charge. Esther, interestingly, has a lot less HP than Pizarro. He has 3,800, 700 MP. He knows D-Magic, Giga Slash, as he is lovingly showing off, and Rain Slash. Now, the interesting thing about Giga Slash is it's single target. It does huge damage, but it pretty much has its own resistance dedicated to itself. So interestingly, it's one of the few spells that a lot of the bosses are actually not immune to. Speaking of immunities, I did realize and understand why Rose never used Ultra Down or things like Panic Dance. Almost everything's immune to it. Skills and things like that, especially Ultra Down, that target certain immunities, just become obsolete because so many things become outright immune that the game doesn't even bother. Because, Ultra Down is considered instant death, almost every single monster in the game has at least half resistance to it, so it was hard to justify keeping it around. The idea of a spell that lowers speed, defense, and makes them less accurate is awesome, but when everything's immune to it, what's the point? Still, the point of beating Esther was some good EXP.
What's wrong with me? I can be defeated. Somehow I knew from my long dream that eventually this would happen.
Even if we're in a dream, it doesn't matter as long as Terry's trying hard. Let's go back.
Which, I think that's actually some lore as to Terry's game, Dragon Quest VI. I know it revolves around dreams. I don't know much more than that, though. Like I said, I've not played it. But hey, that went pretty darn well. And now, as is customary, because we've beaten the next 2 gates, we've got 3 left. We will now run on down and bid farewell to Sol. Ironically, breeding him with our own Esther. This means that Zelma and Mudo are going to be the big dogs of the team. And then from Esther and Sol breeding, we will get Miradros, and then from Miradros and Spikerus breeding, we will get Miradros 2. So that'll be pretty cool. So Est and Sol,
Seems like a new monster.
absolutely. Get it? Absolutely. Pretty good, huh? But, there goes one of my favorite monsters ever made. I love Gold Slime. Or Gem Slime, depending on your translation. Inside it is a baby Miradros. Costs 150 to hatch it. No, we can't hatch it because we need to make sure we get the right gender. So I believe it's Pike here? Yeah. So because our Miradros will be breeding with Pike, which I will double check here just to make doubly sure, because I would hate to come this far and get it wrong. Yes, so we will need our Miradros 1 to be female, which should be pretty easy. Otherwise, as it's been the case, I'll show you Miradros hatch it, and then I'm gonna get farming. And next episode, we'll continue to do more gates. I believe the next gates coming up are, I think, Dragon Quest V and the start of Dragon Quest VI, if memory serves. Otherwise, it was a boy, we shall bless it. But yeah, if memory serves, I think the only boss from Dragon Quest V is Miradros. And then we fight, I think it's... Oh gosh, this is where I need to check my notes, because I don't quite fully remember. Because I had it written down... Yeah, so Miradros is Dragon Quest V, and then we fight Mudo from Dragon Quest VI, and then finally Deathmore. Which will probably save Deathmore, the final fight, and the ultimate monster for the finale, as is appropriate. But hey, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let us hatch baby Miradros, which, it's kind of hard to tell, but Miradros is like this old man-looking monster. Not very intimidating. But still, we'll hatch her, name her Miru, and then I'll see you guys next time after, you know, a bunch of farming. But man, we've come so darn far, and I'm honestly so proud. Here we go, M-I-R-U. Perfect for me and you. I guess too. Here are her stats. Obviously, HP is going to be extremely low because of gold slime, but hey, that'll get fixed in no time. Lazy, we'll work on it. You know how it goes. As always, I'm Brett. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.